Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ. Union workers at ExxonMobil refinery in Billings voting down a proposed 3-year contract.
Now, this vote does not mean work will stop at the plant. That's because the union must give a 24-hour written notice before it calls a strike or the company locks out workers.
Now, both sides expressed hope that they would avoid a costly work stoppage.
Derek Weber, the president of the local 11470, said plans are to go back to the table and continue negotiations with ExxonMobil. And ExxonMobil spokesman Dan Carter says the company will continue to bargain in good faith. The union's previous 3-year contract expired January 31st, but the two sides agreed to continue negotiating under a series of rolling extensions.
The new contract included an 11% pay raise over 3 years, a $2,000 signing bonus for all employees, 5 days paid leave, and additional vacation time after the birth or adoption of a child. United Steelworkers members at the CHS refinery in Laurel and Phillips 66 both approved new 3-year deals at the end of last month.
Turning to the weather scene, Bob, tonight is going to be the coldest we have felt yet.
Oh boy.
Not only this year, but also this season, and just in the last 2 or 3 minutes, the temperature has already fallen some more. Let me show you. Currently, we are at 7 below zero. When we started the newscast, we were at 5 below. So that's what's happening, folks. Notice elsewhere, Jordan 22 below zero right now, Glendive 17 below. These are actual ambient air temperatures right now. And so here's what's going to happen tonight. We're expecting our temperatures to drop back down to 14 below zero in Billings. We're halfway there right now. Elsewhere, you see teens and 20s below zero around the region, 27 below over at Havre tonight. That's going to be pretty chilly. Meanwhile, take a look what's going to happen in the morning. This is our wind chill forecast, and by tomorrow morning in Billings, it's going to be about 28 degrees below zero. It'll feel like 37 below zero at Havre and maybe 31 below zero over at Cutbank. Miles City feel like 29 below zero there. We have a wind chill advisory tonight, and temperatures there are expected to drop back down to possibly as cold as 35 below zero tonight. So we'll have the rest of your forecast and the weekend weather coming up in a few minutes.
Youch. Thanks, Bob.
Well, it was a chilly, wet afternoon at the Rimrock Mall today after this bitter cold forced pipes to burst near the main entrance.
Crews are working into the night to restore at least $30,000 in damages to the front of the building. 2 businesses did choose to close after the pipe broke due to proximity to the water and to ensure the safety of employees and patrons. Now, the current plan is to have the wheelchair accessible doors at the main entrance reopened by tomorrow morning. All other entrances and businesses in the mall are unaffected.
A Utah man and his 12-year-old son hiking south of Bozeman got lost and separated, making for a long, scary, cold night.
Search and rescue teams from Gallatin County and Big Sky dispatched around 6:30 last night to the Spanish Peaks area, about an hour and a half from Bozeman. Now, the pair was reported overdue from a hiking trip. 20 snowmobilers and skiers were involved in the search. The boy was found about 10 p.m. asleep in the snow between the main road and the Spanish Creek cabin. He says he was able to move more quickly through the snow, but lost contact with his dad and became disoriented.
After the boy warmed up and became more coherent, he was able to use landmarks to help rescuers find his father. Father was found about 1:15 this morning near the Pioneer Falls Trail. Both were confused and suffering from hypothermia. They were quickly moved to an ambulance, then flown to the University of Utah Burn Center.
Blizzard conditions, it was below zero. It was just, it's worst case scenario as far as weather, and they should have never been out there. They weren't equipped for being out in that weather, and they are just very, very lucky to be alive.
Gallatin County search and rescue crews were called out 16 times in January alone. Firefighters in Montana are one step closer to getting a health and safety bill passed in this year's legislative session. The Senate committee passed the Firefighter Protection Act today, meaning the bill will move to the Senate floor. It's something Montana firefighters have been fighting for a long time.
People think, well, it can't happen to me. Well, it did.
Chuck Hagan spent nearly a quarter century fighting fires. He's been battling prostate cancer for the past year.
It goes 1 through 10, and I was a 7, which 10 is the worst, real aggressive.
Chuck isn't sure whether the danger he faced from exposure to smoke and other chemicals caused the cancer, but he now knows the chances of getting certain cancers are much higher in firefighters. In fact, his longtime boss at Lockwood Fire also had prostate cancer and did not survive.
We didn't think about all the dangers, smoke clear, let's get this stuff off, and, and now what I know now, I would have never done that, but
I want to be super careful about it for myself, and then also my coworkers. Like, we're all friends and family, basically.
Lindsay Lambert is relatively new to the job of firefighting. Equipment has improved, and a lot of precautions are now taken to keep firefighters from being exposed to possible carcinogens, but there are still risks that come with the job. One reason why she and other firefighters from across the state are pushing for Senate Bill 160 to become law. That bill would shift some of the burden of proof for illnesses caused by fighting fires from patient to insurer.
So Senate Bill 160 advances 9-1.
The bill now heads to the Senate floor.
Cancer is awful in all aspects. It doesn't matter who gets cancer, but the fact that firefighters who've given their lives for this job are getting cancer because of the job and aren't getting the health care maybe, or the doctors that they need, the medical aid that they need, I think it would be super beneficial because, like I said, cancer is awful.
There were a couple amendments added to the bill, including one that would help protect insurance companies more. No word yet on when that bill will be heard on the Senate floor.
One of the biggest of the big money issues before lawmakers is infrastructure. How much will the state pay and for what when it comes to government building projects across Montana? MTN's Mike Dennison tells us the status of those proposals and how the debate now includes a possible new planning and funding framework.
Right now, Montana lawmakers are considering a half dozen bills to authorize almost $360 million worth of building projects. That total includes $135 million in cash or cash authority for new state and university system buildings, renovation, and maintenance. Among these projects are $20 million to fix up state fishing access, parks, and other recreational sites, $12 million for maintenance and improvements at the state capitol complex and other buildings statewide, and $5 million for a new veterans nursing home in Butte. There's also $44 million in coal trust loans, mostly for big regional water projects in eastern Montana, and the big one, $160 million in bonded debt, which would pay for a remodeled Romney Hall on the MSU campus in Bozeman, a new State Historical Society building, and scores of water, wastewater, and bridge projects in smaller towns all over the state. But state borrowing requires approval by 2/3 majority of each house, and for several sessions now, a conservative bloc of Republicans has blocked bonding bills for infrastructure. That's led some Republicans to propose a new process for deciding state building projects.
After the last bonding bill failed again, I said, okay, we've got to figure out a different way to do this because it's the same old arguments.
Moore is preparing a bill that would create a new fund with specific streams of revenue and financial triggers for how the state can invest in new buildings. Republican Representative Mike Hopkins of Missoula, who chairs a panel that reviewed the building plans, says it resembles a vetting process already in place for many smaller projects.
We want to take that system and we want to attach it to the overall conversation around infrastructure in the state of Montana.
Moore also says creating this process may encourage some who've opposed bonding bills to support one this session.
But I still think it'll help the comfort level even this session because this will go into effect in the next biennium.
Democrats say they may support the concept, but that a bonding bill needs to pass this session.
We're willing to work hand in hand to get the strategic plan done, but they got to be willing to work with us to get some of these major projects done that have been sitting and just getting more expensive every day.
Republicans, however, already say they're likely to scale back Governor Steve Bullock's big bonding bill. The Historical Society building money is likely to come out and end up in a standalone bill. And the Romney Hall remodel at MSU spokesman Tracy Ellig says it's well past time to get it done and hopes that enough lawmakers agree.
The state has not passed a bonding bill since 2005 for major building vertical construction. It's been 14 years. I think over time people have seen that that's an issue and it needs to be addressed.
Some initial committee votes on infrastructure bills will happen on Thursday, but that's just the first step. Don't be surprised if this issue comes down to the last day of the session. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks, Mike. Also today, a Senate panel killed the bill that would allow voters to get rid of daylight saving time here in Montana.
Bright and early, our Montana This Morning crew and a group of volunteers kicked off the St. Jude Dream Home giveaway right here in the Q2 studios.
A big day for Q2, our community and our state as we support the fight against pediatric cancer and other life-threatening diseases. Q2's Samantha Sullivan took part in the morning events.
Okay, give me your phone number to look for us.
As soon as possible. Once the lines opened at 6 a.m., it was full speed ahead.
This morning was great. The phone started ringing the second the lines went on. We got over 400 tickets sold. We're doing fantastic.
Of course, this is all for the chance to win the St. Jude Dream Home, being built right here in Billings, worth about $500,000. And there are plenty of other prizes available for those who enter.
Yeah, so even if you don't win the Dream Home, there's lots of options of other things that you can win.
So anybody that actually purchases a ticket today by midnight is eligible to win a weekend stay at the ranch at the Rock Creek.
Other prizes include Visa gift cards worth up to $10,000 and a brand new iPhone. If that's not enough to sell you, all the proceeds go to a great cause, getting children with life-threatening illnesses the care that they need. Open houses will be held every Saturday and Sunday starting on March 30th, and you will be able to purchase tickets in person, but there are only 6,500 tickets available, so if you're interested, you may not want to wait. In Billings, Samantha Sullivan, MTN News.
Thanks, Sammy. Tickets will be on sale until they run out. You can enter by calling the number on your screen. That line is open 24/7.
And due to Montana law, tickets cannot be purchased with a credit card. If you don't have a debit card, you can find out how to reserve a ticket with cash or check. Visit dreamhome.org, or you can call for more information.
Now, a hugely successful kickoff. Q2V has surpassed today's goal, and tickets are going fast. As of this evening, we are told 1,500 tickets are already sold.
Yeah, and if you get your ticket by midnight, you will also qualify for a Montana Weekend Getaway Prize. Well, coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, these kids are busting their chops to raise lambs. We'll see what's drawing them in.
Plus, this kid is gaining some new experiences while taking on the slopes, proving his disabilities don't define him.
And in sports, on National Signing Day, Bobcats football coach Jeff Choate tells us why he flat out despises a new NCAA rule.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.